and admitting now.
Is that it? What was that?
Good morning. Good morning, Ms. Rebecca.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This Court of Common Pleas Civil Division is now declared open. The Honorable Ann M. Butchart presiding. This is a public hearing live streamed via YouTube and can be accessed on the court's website. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Judge Ann Butchart, and we're convening in our virtual courtroom today on the initial hearing in an Act 135 petition that was filed by Philadelphia Community Development Coalition, Inc. as petitioner versus Rebecca Woods as the respondent. This is our docket 2208-01802. The subject property of this petition is 320 North Edgewood Street in Philadelphia, zip code 19139. I'm going to ask all parties that are participating today, if they have video capability, to please use it. And we're going to begin by everybody putting their name on the record and indicating what their relationship is to the case. And we'll start with attorneys.
Good morning, Your Honor. Michael McElhenney, McIlhenney, counsel for the petitioner, the Philadelphia Community Development Coalition. And here with me today is Mr. David Champagne, the president of the petitioning party. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you.
And Rebecca's iPhone, Your Honor, is Miss Rebecca Woods. She is the respondent, and I did speak with her this morning. She did not have a computer access this morning. She was at work. So she's zooming in through her iPhone.
Good morning, Ms. Wood. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you, Judge.
Ms. Wood, do you have the ability to turn on your video for your Zoom on your phone?
I should be.
It should be down at the lower left-hand side of your screen. There you go. There you go. You had it for a second there.
It's not on?
No, you had it for a second and then it went off again.
Oh, wait a minute.
There you go. Good morning. Thank you so much. And I'm going to ask Latifah Johnson to introduce herself, please.
Good morning. I am Latifah Johnson. I am the property manager for KHP Properties.
And what is your relation to this case?
I am the property manager, and we own the property at 318 North Edgewood.
Okay. So you're here to offer testimony as a witness?
Yes.
A neighbor. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. An Act 135 petition is, I think everybody is, I think people are becoming more familiar with it, is a petition that can be appointed to a petition that is filed to make an appointment of a conservator or to find other ways to address properties that are considered to be blighted and abandoned. Act 135 was passed by the Pennsylvania legislature about 12 years ago, maybe 14 years ago, to address the issue of blighted and abandoned properties throughout the state. In Philadelphia, we have this particular docket, or we keep all of these cases under, at this point, the responsibility of one judge, so that we sort of have a deep knowledge and understanding of the case and the law. I'm going to ask Mr. McElhenney to make a very brief opening statement, and then I'm going to invite Ms. Woods as the respondent to also make a statement if she chooses to do so.
Thank you, Your Honor. As an initial matter, we have had the opportunity to effect service on all the interested parties, which include the City of Philadelphia, PGW, L&I, and the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. Those affidavits are of record. I did have to file an amended affidavit for the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency because there was a typo in my prior affidavit. That will be on the docket today.
Okay.
Miss Rebecca Woods actually was kind enough after she got the package posted at the property. We did post it in accordance with the court's order. She actually came to my office. So I had a chance to review the petition with her, give her the court's flyer explaining Act 135. And after that meeting, I did follow up and provide names of Act 135 attorneys who have appeared in cases so that Miss Woods could reach out to those counsel if she so chose. And we have been in touch since. I've sent follow-up emails, and we have spoken, I guess, 2 or 3 times since the case has been filed. The case, as you mentioned, Your Honor, is concerning 320 North Edgewood Street. It's a property that has been cleaned and sealed by the city of Philadelphia for several years at this point. It's stormwater only. It appears that some of the damage to the property was caused by a different developer a few years back, according to Miss Woods. But it is it's a property that will meet the conditions of the act, that has not been recently acquired by the owner. She's owned it for a very long time, as has her family. The blighting influence, it's not in foreclosure and all the statutory criteria. Its condition is clean and sealed. It lacks water service. It's not habitable at this time and requires substantial rehabilitation. So we did have preliminary discussions to explain to Miss Woods that as the owner, she'd have the right to, if we can prove our case, that she would have the right to try to repair the property if she so chose. And that's kind of where our discussions left off with her trying to seek other counsel.
Thank you, Mr. McElhenney. Ms. Woods, what would you like to put on the record today with regards to this case?
Well, first and foremost, the biggest thing of all, I have not abandoned my house. Now, technically, when you want to talk about technicalities on black and white paper, yes, you're going to try to say that. You're going to try to put that down and say I abandoned it. But I have not abandoned my house. I just haven't had the funds to be able to fix it up. And I've been trying to seek ways of getting the funds to get the house fixed up, because I desperately want to move back into my house. The house was given to me spiritually. The house was given to me by God. But technically, the house was left to me by my aunt, who went through different, how can I say? She went through different situations or whatever to keep the house, which she shouldn't have had to, because the house rightfully belonged to her by being the wife of Samson Coe. The house rightfully belonged to her. As soon as he passed away, the house was supposed to automatically belong to her. But what happened was, Samson Coe, please try to follow me what I'm trying to say. Samson Coe, her husband, had a nephew, Samson Coe. There was no middle name, no junior, because he was her husband, Samson Coe's nephew. So when we called him Sammy, the nephew. We called him Sammy. When Sammy passed away, his wife, I can't remember her name. But anyway, his wife went down to City Hall and put her name on the deed illegally, because she also knew that there was no middle name and no junior on the end of the name. And by rights, City Hall should not have allowed her to just come down there and put her name on the deed without doing a total research of who she was or what the situation between Samson Coe and Samson Coe, So
can I interrupt you to get a sense here? Was this after your uncle or your aunt's husband had died, or while he was still alive?
this was after he passed away. After her,
Okay.
my aunt Hazel Coe, after he passed away, Samson Coe, Sammy was still alive for, I'd say maybe 10 more years. And then about 10 years later, he passed away. And that's when his wife went down to City Hall and put her name on the deed illegally.
I understand.
So then at that point, we were in my aunt Hazel Coe. What I don't know how she became aware of the fact that I think Annie Coe, that's her name, Annie Coe, little Sammy's wife. I think Annie Coe called in Hazel and told her that she put her name on the deed. And I think she was talking to her in a bit of power struggle thing to say that you don't own the house. I own the house because now my name is on the deed. And so my aunt started to go to community people and also our pastor to try to find out how she could get her house that rightfully belonged to her back in her.
Now, can I interrupt again and ask another question?
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Your Aunt Hazel's husband, Samson Coe, he owned the house just by himself. His wife's name was
No. His first wife.
His first wife's name was on the deed.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And
Right.
Hazel was his second wife?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And so he had never retitled the deed in her name.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, can I want to kind of see if we can shortcut this a little bit. So I understand that your Aunt Hazel sought out assistance from community members, her pastor and others about how she could correct this. Was she successful in eventually getting her name on the deed?
I want to.
Your Honor, I might be able to assist here.
Okay, I appreciate that.
The background that Miss Woods is providing is 3 decades old at this point. We're talking the 80s and early 90s.
Okay.
There is a quiet title action of record back in May of 1994 where there was an action, Miss Woods, Rebecca Woods, that is at case ID 9405-02310 that lists that there was a quiet title action to this property and the case was listed as settled, and Miss Woods became the record owner, it appears, in 1995. So I think all of this activity is 80s, 90s, well before any time relevant for the current action.
Okay.
But it is a complicated family property, as I briefly referenced at the beginning, that this Miss Woods isn't a new owner. It's been in her family. I believe her aunt is who actually kind of raised her, Miss Coe,
Yeah.
Annie Coe.
And also, I was
made.
made executor of her estate after
Okay.
she passed away.
Okay.
So then from
So
that
I think
point,
actually that I think that this helps me enormously, because as interesting as this is, what I'm mostly concerned about is whether or not you are the record owner of this property and you are
Yes.
appropriately here in court as the respondent / owner. And
Yes.
now I understand that you are. And I appreciate
Okay,
the whole background, because what I think you were trying to tell me, or trying to tell the court,
I
was
also
the
want to add
tremendous
this.
effort that had gone into getting the title cleared up.
Yes, I
Okay.
also want to add this, Your Honor.
Yeah.
At this point, a lawyer, I don't know who or how, but a lawyer contacted me and said to the fact about the house, and I I explained to her the situation, and she said that she would try to help me, and she would do the research on the house as to who rightfully owned the house and everything like that. And because I was made executor of, I think she was the one that helped get me the executor of the house too. And she got the information or research, and she was the one that found out about Annie-Co. And at this point, she made an arrangement that to get Annie-Co's name off of the deed, and totally, because my aunt still owned half of the house. Well, sort of, you know what I mean, half of the house, but to get Annie-Co's name off of the deed, I would have to buy Annie-Co out, her half out, in order to remove her name from the deed. And
I'm going to interrupt again and ask if this is a recent conversation.
No. This was back in the 90s.
So again, I'm going to fast forward, because whatever hoops you jumped through, you apparently were successful in that the deed now is in your name and your name only. Is that correct,
Yes.
Mr. McElhenney?
That's my understanding, Your Honor. Yeah, I'm looking at the last deed of record. It's in the name of Rebecca Woods, and there was that quiet title action prior to the date of this deed.
Okay.
Annie-Co widow to Rebecca Woods, 1995.
Okay.
I'll
And I
double
also
check
paid-
this.
That's how you
in
achieved
depth,
it.
but
Okay.
Also, what I paid out to her was to remove her name from the deed was $7,000.
Okay. Well, it looks as if it's been a struggle, and I can understand your attachment to this property. And I appreciate your background, sharing that, as well as Mr. McElhenney's consulting what the deed and the actual legal records show. So you are properly here today, and I understand that you have not by any means abandoned the house, but is it accurate to say that without the funds to fix it up, the property is not what it could be and is not able to be occupied at this time? Is that accurate?
Well, not right at this time, but I have gone to a couple of community places, or one thing that I was seeking was government grants to get the property fixed up. Also, there's a program from a Senator Nikhil Savell.
Right, I'm familiar with that new legislation that he passed.
Well, I called them, and his representative told me about the program. It's called Whole Home Repairs Act. And he's from the North District office. And she was telling me that the funds are going through a process. It hasn't completed the process, but these are loans for homeowners who need to get their property or their homes fixed up. And she told me it's for $50,000. And I asked her, could you please, when it becomes available, could you please put my name on the list so that I can be able to fill out a form or whatever is needed to acquire these funds? So I
Okay.
can help, that I can get the property, my house fixed up.
Okay.
And
So I understand. And again, I'm going to interrupt. And you must think I'm a very rude person. And I'm
no,
really
not at all. Not at all.
I have so many hearings scheduled today, and we only allot a particular amount of time for each hearing, especially when it's the first hearing in a case. So we're pushing up against my next case. So, and I realized that I was late, and that's the reason we started late. And it's only because I was I was in City Hall on another matter. So my apologies. What I am going to ask, if Mr. McElhenney can share his screen, is I just don't have a picture in my mind, and I'm wondering if he could share any pictures of the property so that we all know what we're talking about. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. On the screen are the photograph exhibits from the petition that were filed. And looking at picture 2 is the front of the property. In the middle of the screen is 320 North Edgewood. It's is cleaned and sealed by the city of Philadelphia. And then the Department of Streets, the CLIP, Community Life Improvement Program, goes out and paints on fake doors and windows on the front, as you can see, where it says CLIP. And then the Miss Johnson, her property that they manage is the white property to the left of the attached structure. So they share a party wall. They're twin houses. I think everyone would agree, Ms. Woods included, that the property's missing functional doors and windows. The second floor has no windows. The cornice is all deteriorated, and the property probably needs a new roof as well. And that's just a third photo is just a close-up of the clip signs. The fourth photo is the rear. So there is also a detached garage at the rear, or a garage building that is not in the best of shape. The rear yard just is some trash debris and needs repair. And the rear is missing windows. Close up of the rear garage that's just hasn't been maintained. And then we have a photo of the side of the property just showing the overgrowth.
That was just a time when it probably rained so hard and it grows very, very fast.
Sure, I can see
Yes.
that.
Because I do maintain that. I get someone that cleans my yard, cuts everything down for me, and I always pay him $100 for him to maintain the yard. So it was just at that particular time when it was overgrown, weeds and all.
Okay,
And I guess back, like the original photos would have shown historically it was just a plain clean and seal sign. But like I said, CLIP goes out and tries to make it look a little nicer with the fake doors and windows.
I understand. Okay. Miss,
And Your Honor, if I can add one more thing.
sure.
I have been looking into the home improvement grant. I did speak to Miss Woods about that when she was at my office, that maybe that would be an opportunity in the future. One of the hurdles that I've discovered as I've researched the program more is it's mainly designed for owner occupied houses to make repairs where people are currently living in them. Now, the final guidelines aren't approved and the process to obtain the money won't be out until it appears like January or so. But that was one of the things that jumped out at me, that it's an owner occupied program as opposed to a statutorily abandoned property. And Ms. Woods, when I say abandoned, that is just a legal term under this statute. Not that you don't know about the property, not that you don't visit it. It's a legal term under the statute.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ms. Woods, Mr. McElhenney said he also gave you the Act 135 information sheet.
Yes,
Sort of
ma'am, he did.
summarizes. All right, so I mean, I'm sure that you've read that and you understand that it's a high hurdle that you're facing.
I know.
But we have certainly in this program, we've had people in your situation who have been able to proceed and gain conditional relief and maintain their houses. Have you had a chance to speak to or consider any of the attorneys to represent you that
I've talked to 3 of them. Yes.
Okay.
I just spoke with Roger Cameron.
Okay.
I spoke with his boss attorney. I spoke with 2 other ones. Mr. Roger, well, his boss told me yesterday, but it was such short notice. They had other cases, and maybe they could help me sometime in the future. That's what was told to me yesterday.
Okay. So what the next step is that I'm going to schedule a date for an evidentiary hearing. And at an evidentiary hearing, it will be the petitioner's burden to present evidence to establish that the property was blighted and abandoned. And remember, that's a technical term under Act 135 as of the date that they filed their petition. And you'll have the opportunity to present any evidence that you believe supports your position. And you'll also have the opportunity to question any of the witnesses that the petitioner brings to the hearing. We usually allocate about 2.5 hours for that hearing. And we're probably going to schedule it in early January, just so you know from this point on where this case is going and what our next step is. If it is possible for you to obtain the services of an attorney, I strongly suggest that you have that attorney in place as soon as possible. It's a darling little house. I can
Yes, it
understand
is.
the attachment.
It is.
I mean, and to have a
grew up in
garage.
that house, predominantly grew up in that house from
Yeah.
1969 until the fire. And I raised my children in that house.
I can understand the attachment. It's a lovely house. So do you have any questions about what's going to happen next in this case?
Yeah. You say that the ones that are coming against me, they are able to bring in witnesses, which could be all the neighbors that are against me.
They could bring in witnesses. They could bring in neighbors if they wished. Yes, they can.
Mm-hmm.
What they have to establish under Act 135, there are several different criteria for what constitutes a blighted or abandoned house or property. And they have to establish, they can establish any circumstances, but what the court looks most carefully at is what the house looks like, whether or not it's maintained, whether it has whether it's in obvious need of repair. And for that, I would be looking at whether or not it has doors, whether it has windows, the state of the roof, whether or not the drain spouts are an issue, whether or not there's obvious water damage on the property. I'd be looking at the physical appearance of the property that would indicate that it needs substantial repair. I would also be concerned as to the impact that this property was having in the neighborhood. And I've had testimony in many cases where a property that's not occupied is where drug dealers gather.
No drug dealers.
No, I'm just
positively
letting you know
of that. No drug dealers.
Okay, I'm just letting you know.
Positively.
I'm letting you know the kind of testimony that I have heard and I would anticipate hearing. It might be a place where kids from the neighborhood gather and
Nope, not that either.
That's very good to know. But I'd also probably hear testimony about how this property might affect the property value of other neighboring homes. For instance, if it's a neighborhood where there's a lot of real estate activity and houses are being developed, and this property is holding back other neighbors' ability to sell their homes at full price, I might hear that testimony. I'd hear testimony about whether or not anybody has seen raccoons and possums in the yard or in the house, because that's evidence of vermin, or even worse, rats. And I would hear, this is the kind of testimony and evidence. I'd also perhaps be given evidence from the City Department of Licenses and Inspections as to whether or not there were any outstanding violations on this property. So that is the burden. And that's the
one, because that particular neighbor is the one that called L&I on me. And L&I was the one that boarded up the house because of what they said, because they hear mostly the roof, because the roof is leaking. And they would hear this water going in the house at night. And that's one reason why they were calling L&I on me. And it's not just one time. It's like 4 or 5 times complaining all the time about this house, my house, and the house that God gave me and my aunt left me This is the one that come doing a lot of complaining, but it's other neighbors too, and I know exactly who they are.
Well, I'm not trying to get into a he said, she said. All I'm trying to establish for you is what is going to happen at the next hearing. That I will be hearing evidence and testimony from various witnesses that the petitioner calls to talk about the impact of this property and its appearance. You will have the opportunity to cross-examine any witness who testifies.
Oh, thank you.
You also have the opportunity to bring in your own witnesses and your own evidence to establish for the court that this property isn't abandoned. And the sorts of things that I would be looking for.
And then they know it's not. They see me there.
The sorts of things that I would be looking for would be any documents that you could provide to the court that would show that you've spent this much money to do this or that or the other thing to keep your property up.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's just, I'm giving you a little bit of a roadmap as to what's going to happen at the next hearing, okay?
Yes, ma'am. I understand. Can I
Now,
ask
do you
you
have any other, yes,
question?
please. What other question?
Was it possibly a petition signed by neighbors? And these names would be on a petition?
This has nothing to do with any petition from neighbors. This is a petition that was filed by Philadelphia Community Development Coalition.
Okay, now how would they find out about the house on Edgewood Street?
Well, that's probably going to come out at the petition, at the hearing. What I've heard before is sometimes there are individuals like Mr. Champagne who make it their business to go around the city and identify houses that they think are eligible for conservatorship.
Is that Mr. Champagne in the courtroom right now?
That is Mr. Champagne, yes.
Can I see him?
Can you see him on your screen?
Yes.
Can you see him now?
No, not
She
yet.
might have to swipe to see all the other, 'cause there's.
Oh,
7 or
maybe
8
you
of
need
us
to
in the room.
swipe to see everybody else who's in the room.
Okay,
I think if
I
I
have to swipe.
me.
I have to swipe.
That might
What-
work. I don't know what your capabilities are on your phone.
Let me see. Is that, would I do participants?
Yes, hit participants.
Oh, and it pops up?
Well, I don't know if everybody's picture will pop up. Can you see any pictures at all? Any faces?
I only see a list and it says participants 8.
Okay, so, and the 8 who are here are Latifah Johnson, Michael McElhenney, David Champagne, our court reporter, Miss Blum, myself, my law clerk, Mr. Teshko, and you. Those are the 8 people who are present today.
Okay. So no other neighbors are there.
No. It's why at the beginning of the hearing, I had everybody put their name on the record so it would be very clear who was present. Now, this is being live streamed, and I cannot say, of course, who might be watching it. But generally speaking, I don't think we get big audiences.
I got you. Oh, you might.
Now, do you have any other questions?
Let's see. Okay, so if I, by a beautiful, miraculous miracle, get a hold of funds between now, today, and the date you set this second hearing. Okay, and just start to doing renovations or repairs, whatever, that would suffice?
Not necessarily, because the date that is significant is the date that the petition was filed, and this petition was filed in August. And it was the condition of the property as of the date of the filing that is the issue.
Okay,
Anything
but
that
the petition was just filed in August, but I wasn't aware of it.
How did you
So
be,
at the
how,
point
how
of
did,
my being aware of it should be the point.
to be quite clear, Ms. Woods, you've been aware of the condition of that property for quite some time.
Oh, you're looking at it that way.
Yes, yes, I am looking at it. We do look at it that way because the petitioner has to establish that the property has not been occupied, that it's in need of repair. And those things are ongoing since the time that you became the owner of record.
Yeah, but it was only the fact that I wasn't able to obtain funds to get it fixed up.
I understand your position, but the property still has been in that condition for quite some time. And property owners are, property
Yeah,
owners
even
are,
my house. Like I get all the phone calls and emails and texts and everything else, people wanting to buy my house.
well, we're going to have to conclude this hearing today, so I'll just ask you one more time. Do you have any additional questions?
Not at this time.
All right. So let's look at the calendar and get a court date for our next hearing, shall we?
Okay. Don't make it January the 11th.
All right.
That's my birthday.
Your Honor, I'm looking at Wednesday, January 4th at 9:30 in the morning.
January 4th at 9:30. Ms. Woods, is that a good day for you?
You said Wednesday, January the 4th,
At 9:30.
30. That's a Wednesday. Yes, I'm able to do that.
Now,
Your Honor, this will be in person, correct?
yes, I was just going to say, this is not going to be by Zoom. This is going to be in City Hall, courtroom 453. And you will be receiving a notice, Ms. Woods, but I'm just going to ask you to put on the record today, if you wouldn't mind, your home address and your email, if you have an email, as well as your cell phone number. And that's just so we'll be able to reach you in the event that there's any kind of a mess up
Okay.
in terms of notice.
And Your Honor, I did send to the virtual courtroom an email between myself and Miss Woods with today's hearing link. So that
Okay.
should be of record with Chambers.
That's fine. Then we would have that email, all of that information, and it's not necessary for Ms. Woods to repeat it or put it on the record. That's fine.
But there is no, if you would like the address information, that is not part of the email.
Okay. Ms. Woods, could you give us your legal address, please?
Where I'm living now,
Yes.
do I have to state it out loud?
Well, you can put it, you could put it in the chat, but I don't know if you have the chat function.
No. But anyway, 315 Buchanan Street, Buchanan, in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, 19460.
I'm just going to read that back to you to make sure I got it correctly. 315 Buchanan Street,
Yes,
Phoenixville, 19460.
yes.
Okay, thank you very much for giving us that. All right, so our next court date is January 4th at 9:30, and we're going to allot 2.5 hours for that evidentiary hearing.
Can I ask you, this is where witnesses, or you said witnesses can come and testify.
Correct.
Is it going to be like they get up on the witness stand and?
Absolutely. It's a courtroom proceeding.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is you shouldn't, people sometimes wonder not if we have juries, and we don't have juries in this particular petition practice. Decisions are made completely by the judge. So they're non-jury proceedings. just so you know, okay?
Yes.
Do you have any other questions or concerns?
Yes. There are 4 other houses on Edgewood Street, the same block. Nobody is going after these houses. They're boarded up. There's 3 at the end of the street on the same side. And there's 1 across the street. And I would like to know why is it everybody wants to come at me and come at my house? And you got 4 other houses on that street that are run down or they're nobody's living in them whatsoever, and they haven't been for a long time. And I want to know, why are they coming at me?
Ms. Woods, as you know, the court cannot answer that question. The decision by a particular petitioner to approach the court with a petition belongs to that person, that entity, and you are in contact with PCDC's attorney. You may want to talk to Mr. McElhenney about that, but that is not a question for the court. I can't possibly answer it. But you are in communication with Mr. McElhenney until such time as you get an attorney. And if and when you do get an attorney, then your attorney will talk with Mr. McElhenney.
Okay, and along with that, this
I am
lady,
so sorry, but we really do have to conclude this hearing. I hope we've given you as much information as we can. You have to realize too that, you know, I'm impartial. I can't put my finger on the scale and do anything for either party. But because you're self-represented today, I want to make sure that you're as comfortable as you can be with your knowledge of what an Act 135 case looks like. So that's why I'm going to such trouble to make certain that you know as much as you can and to answer your questions. But I think we will have to conclude our hearing today. So you'll be getting a notice that the next hearing date will be in person in City Hall, courtroom 453 in Philadelphia on January the 4th at 9:30. Is there anything else to come before the court today?
Nothing further from petitioner, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. This hearing is concluded.